maybe that'll work. Let's see. So this is the first time I've ever used YouTube Live instead of just going right through OBS or something like that. So don't know how well this will work. Doesn't look like you can hear me. Darn, I'm supposed to be doing homework. Yeah, I've got other things I should be doing, but here I am. I've changed things around a little bit. You might be able to tell the camera's up a little bit higher. And I'm doing it through, as I said, YouTube Live. So I don't have as much control over things like audio levels, white balance levels, things like that. But as far as I can tell, if I just move my hands around a little bit, seems like we're doing pretty good. So we're going to go with it for now. So, what have I been working on recently? Well, over here, kind of out of frame, that maybe you can kind of barely see the side panel of it there. It's Power Mac G4 MDD. Now, I've owned this MDD for, I don't know, maybe 4 years, 5 years. And ever since I've had it, it's had a bad power supply, so I never could really turn it on and do anything with it. So as a result, it's just sat and done absolutely nothing. Recently, I went ahead and cannibalized an ATX power supply, snipped off all the wires, repinned it, and connected it to the G4's original motherboard connector, as well as Molex connectors, and actually got this thing to fire up and work reliably, which is really cool. And it actually kind of fits in the case. So now I've got myself a rather hacked together but working MDD. Now the trouble is, in order to make that ATX power supply fit, I made a weird noise. Maybe that's why it doesn't work. I had to take out the optical drive. There physically is not room in the case with the video card in there to be able to close it and have it stay shut on its own. So I had to take out the optical drive. Now, this optical drive didn't work, and as I'm picking it up and moving it around, there's something definitely broken inside of there. So maybe that's why it didn't work. So I'll just deal with it for now, and eventually I'll probably replace it with something, maybe move this power supply around. But the goal was to be able to get this thing to close, and it does. So I'm very happy about that. Unfortunately, because I can never have anything that actually just works, the original fan on it, which I threw in the recycling over there, so here's the card that it came with. It's it's only actually that long, but it comes with the extension, so it sits nicely in that slot for support. It's a GeForce 4 of some kind, or a Quadro FX, I don't know, some kind of NVIDIA card, the original one it came with. The fan was completely destroyed. The bearings were shot. It was actually rusted. I don't know why, because nothing else is rusted. But it wouldn't spin. The bearings were shot. So I replaced it with a fan from this card right here, which, as far as I can tell, doesn't work. It was, and I can tell you because it says on the sticker, an NVIDIA FX 1000. It's an AGP card. Use the exact same style of heatsink. It has the same mounting holes right where my fingers are, right there and there. Right there and there. Same fan connector. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Same fan connector, same everything else. And it fits and it sits nicely. But I feel like I now realize why this thing does not work. It's because there's a lot of crap all over it. That's really weird. Let's see if I can show that on camera or not. I'm going to go with not really. Oh, you can kind of see it there. So if you take a look at those capacitors, there's a bunch of crud all over them, which is weird that it's only over, and it's only on that side of the capacitors. It's almost as if it sucked in something and then blew it out the fins here onto the caps. That is so very bizarre. I have no idea what that would be. But anyway, maybe that's the problem with this. So that was a long-winded way to say that basically I broke the card. I don't know if it's related to those capacitors or not, because what I did was I just took the fan off, put a new one on, stuck it back in the machine, and then I get all these kind of checkerboard patterns all over the screen. Basically, the card is no good at the moment. So I thought that because that heatsink was on there with so much grip, it took a lot of force to get off of there. So I had initially thought maybe when I was twisting it and I eventually got it off, that maybe the GPU is a cold solder joint, so it disconnected a little bit and I need to bake the card. But after looking at all this crap on the capacitors, I'm not so sure. I don't know what to do about that. And I don't have another video card. So yeah. Anyway, the MDD is almost up working. And this, by the way, is the fastest stock MDD that was made, the 1.4 gigahertz model. It came from the factory with, according to the sticker, 2 gigs of RAM, which is the most this thing can take, I believe. What else did it come with? 1.42 gigahertz dual processor, 2 gigs of RAM, 120 gig hard drive. It says HD, DVD-R, CDRW, modem, keyboard, Mac OS X. So it was probably a pretty expensive machine at the time, because 2 gigs of RAM it would have been quite big. So yeah, a little bit upset that after I finally got it working, finally got that power supply in there, got the case to close, I power it on, and no, it doesn't work. But it is what it is. That's the nature of older machines like this. So it was bound to happen at some point. Anyway, I'll probably fix that at some point, because I was really excited to get this thing working. But now it doesn't work. Speaking of things that I got working, almost, again, because nothing I have ever can work the first time, I've got an iPad first generation. This one, I believe, is going to live in my car. It's going to be a media player machine. So, well, I had the rotation locked, but I go and unlock it. And I've got it jailbroken. So I set it up so that you can kind of see that. So as soon as I get power, so when I take it in the car, plug it in, it immediately opens Spotify. I'm not connected to the internet right now, but it would start playing automatically. And then when I disconnect the power, it pauses the music, turns it off. Freaking cool. Oh, the coolest thing ever. So this will be my in-car music player, give my car a little bit of a more updated feel, because it is quite old at this point. It's about 15 years old, I think. One issue it does have, and I actually have a second one of these that I'm going to swap parts with, is that the bottom portion of the screen down here doesn't work. Maybe about this 1.5 inch corner down there. Doesn't work at all. I can't get anything out of it. Completely dead. And if I were to close the screen all the way, as in put it back on, because you can see it is not on right now, I would get ghost touches all over the screen. Completely random. Sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't. Didn't matter how much pressure I put on it. Excuse me. Just get ghost touches all over the place. So I've got another screen that I'm going to try. I'm going to swap it. It's from an iPad first gen Wi-Fi only. This is an iPad plus 3G. Man, it is noisy outside. So I don't know if they're compatible. I think they are, but I'm not really sure. But yeah, neat. I've always wanted an iPad. I've never actually owned one, and I've been kind of on a binge isn't the right word, but I've been collecting all of the first gen things recently. I've got a MacBook Air first gen that's in very nice shape. I've got this iPad first gen. I think I've got an iPod as well, an iPod Touch first gen, a couple other things as well. But yeah, I like it, so I'm going to put it to use. Along with that, I think I showed you this in the last stream, but I also got this iPad dock, which is very cool. Unfortunately, can't really use it because the dock connector itself is, you can't see it too well, but it's whatever adhesive was holding it in place has failed, and now anytime you put something on the connector, it pushes it down into the socket, and it doesn't make a full connection, which is rather sad. Yeah, Apple stuff. Gotta love it. Having some wine tonight because it's a Thursday afternoon, and that's what I do. Drink wine. Tonight we're supposed to get about 12 inches of snow, possibly. I think it's just starting. It was supposed to start around 5 o'clock, and it hasn't yet. But it's going to be like 38, and they're still predicting almost a foot of snow. So I don't really get that. I don't know how that's going to work. But I can hear it right now outside. There's a tree over. I'm in the basement right now. It's actually outside on ground level, and I can hear that tree banging against the house. So it's getting pretty windy. That's why I'm downstairs drinking wine, live streaming. What else we got going on? Not a whole lot. I've got my, I think it's a 350 megahertz iMac G3. That was the first iMac G3 I've ever actually owned. And I'm going to be getting rid of it. I'm going to sell it to somebody locally. There, you can see it a little better. It works just fine as far as I remember. And it's a perfectly capable machine for an iMac G3. But now that I've got that Snow iMac G3, I don't really need the other one. So I already got rid of my Indigo, and I'm probably going to get rid of that one as well. Give it to somebody who can actually get a little use out of it. But part of the problem I'm having with getting rid of Apple stuff in general is that there's a lot of people who are very interested in it. They'll pay me the money for it. And then at some point during our conversation, they'll say, yeah, it's going to make a great Hackintosh, or it's going to, for this one, somebody's going to make a cat house out of it. Now, I'm totally fine with either of those things, but these are computers, especially that G3 back there, that's in very good condition, and it doesn't need anything. It's ready to go. It's as fast as it can be. It's quiet. It works really well. It's not cat house worthy just yet. I have done that, actually. Made a cat house out of a G3 case, but it was with the G3 that was dead. The CRT had some weird issue, was also had some really bad burn-in. The power supply portion of the CRT started to go bad. It had a bad logic board, no hard drive, no optical drive. Speakers are rotted out, and it was overall just a parts machine. So I scrapped all the completely dead parts, saved some other ones for spare parts, and then used the rest of the case for a cat house. But that's not the case with this one, and it's not the case with... It's just out of frame. It's right here. You can kind of see the top. I've got a Quicksilver down there. And somebody messaged me wanting it and said, yeah, it'll make a great Hackintosh case. And I kind of went, I don't really want to give that to you now. Again, not an Apple purist by any means. You should see what I did to get a power supply in this thing. It's still pretty original, but there was some hacking going on. But I just don't see a point in wasting a perfectly usable, 100% functional machine on parts. I don't like that. So I won't do it. As another example, I had a Mac Mini G4. It was one of the first Apple products, actually, that I ever had. Probably the second one. A Mac Mini G4, 1 gigahertz or something. Super slow, not in good shape. Somebody had tried to take it apart, but didn't understand how. And if you've taken one apart, you'll know what I mean. You kind of got to stick a tool in there and then pry it. Well, they used what looks like a Phillips screwdriver, shoved it in the side, broke a lot of the plastic, completely gouged all the aluminum, bent the aluminum. They then proceeded to take it apart, broke the Wi-Fi connector, broke the hard drive connector by trying to put it in backwards. Don't know how the hell they did that, but they did. And a couple other things. Basically, that thing was ruined. So I used it for a monitor stand for quite some time because it gave me that 1.5 inches, 2 inches of rise that I needed for that monitor. And I have since put it over there in my recycling box because I used parts out of it and it was no longer good. So it's going to go. I keep looking over here at this MDD and I'm like, shit. I really wish I just left that fan alone for just a little while longer so I could make sure this thing works reliably before I messed around with it. But now I have a only semi-functional Power Mac G4 once again. It's a shame, but it is what it is. 'Tis whatever. Noisy chair. Over here, so can you see that? All right, not even close. Oh, okay, let's just move the camera. Here's the side of my computer now. Ignore the top because that's still a work in progress, but I decided to change things up a little bit and semi-permanently mount things. So this USB floppy is mounted to the side because this Sun workstation doesn't have a floppy drive in it. My SD card reader is mounted here very sturdily, and I've also got a 4-port USB hub over there, along with the Surface Pen that I have. And part of, I guess it wasn't really an issue so much, but an issue that I had was when I had things on top of the computer, I'd always have to dig for things and I'd have to pull them out a little bit and then everything would fall. And it was completely my fault for having a messy a messy as hell desk. But I wanted something a little more permanent, something that I could, I can stick a floppy disk into here and it won't go anywhere. It just stays, and it's out of the way too. It's stuck. So yeah, cool. I really enjoy it. I had something else to say about that, but I totally forgot about it. Don't know. Oh, it was... Yeah, I won't bother. Not important. What else have we got going on here in the basement? Probably going to be parting out my newer Windows XP gaming rig. I guess it's the only Windows XP gaming rig, really. But I don't really need it. I've got other machines that do much better at playing games and Windows XP games. And it was just a Frankenstein together thing anyway, so I'm going to sell the parts out of that. I think it's got a Radeon 5870 or 5770 Core 2 Duo of some flavor. I don't know. Spare parts machine. It did the job, but again, I've got other things that do it better. And as for Windows XP games, when I played games on Windows XP, which was pretty much from when it was released in about 2001 until 2008, when I got a computer that ran Vista, I was running it all on... Man, you can't see anything in this frame, can you? It seems like it's a lot smaller than it usually is. There's my old machine over there that used to be at my grandmother's house. She bought new. It's a Pentium 3 867 megahertz or thereabout, 768 megs of RAM, 64 meg video card. It's a pretty low end machine, and that's what I played all my games on, all of them, even ones that barely ran. I think GTA 3 will run, but not very well, and I played so much GTA 3 on that thing. So as for games, anything that's Windows XP, I'll probably just play on there. Anything that requires some more power, I'll probably get it to just work on Windows 7. I'm not so much about the hardware that it runs on, as long as it runs. Yeah, don't know where I'm going with that. I think I'll stream for maybe about 5 to 7 more minutes and then head out. Didn't really want it to be a, my usual 2-hour thing. Just kind of wanted to get thoughts out there and show you guys some stuff and document what I got going on. The usual. Tonight I'm also probably going to, I've got right here in front of me an Apple, what is it? Cinema display, studio display. Let's check my device manager. Forgot what it was. Monitors. Generic plug and play monitor. Good. 1920 by 1200 Apple display from about 2004. Whatever that is. It's one of the plastic ones with the plastic feet on either side. And the third down on the bottom, or on the back. Because that rear foot has broken off, I now have it propped up against the wall, which works really well, but it does take up a little bit of space on my desk. So what I'm planning to do is use this. There's a piece of wood right there, and I'm gonna mount that to the wall, maybe half a foot above the desk, and put the monitor on it, so it's out of the way. I think that'll be a nice thing for the desk. there were actually VESA mounts for the old acrylic Apple monitors. Might be worth getting one. I did not know that. And as soon as I end the stream, I'm actually going to go look, because that would be pretty neat. I know they have them for some of the 27-inch iMacs. I have one, 2010 27-inch iMac that's got a VESA mount adapter you can buy. But I never knew there was one for this, and looking back on it, yeah, that makes sense. So the part that broke is, I don't know what it's made out of. It feels like cast iron, but I know it's not, because it's not heavy enough. Whatever kind of metal that is that attaches to the back of the monitor and then kind of goes in the plastic foot, that broke in half. And it's a very small connection. I don't know why they didn't make it bigger, because I would have assumed it would have broken earlier. But getting that part, if you can find it, it's like $100. Some places have them for $175. It's ridiculous, and there's no reason for it either. So I've just been kind of dealing with it. But yeah, I'm gonna look into that in just a couple minutes, see if I can get a VESA mount, because for some reason I never actually thought of that. Got a lot of crap on this desk. And now it's all over the floor because I missed the trash can. Oops. All right, well, if there are no more questions or comments, I'm gonna head out. If you're watching this live right now, thanks for tuning in and commenting and everything. If you're watching as recording, still feel free to leave comments and I'll reply as soon as I can. Yeah, that's about it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video or the next live stream.